Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of 3AI Clarion Leadership Roundtable. Today, our topic is going to be AI in CPG and retail, the next frontier of transformation. And to talk about this, we have three eminent leaders, very tenured in this space, and let me call upon them to give a brief introduction of each of them. Leaders, the stage is open for you.
Thanks, Vijoe. So let me probably give a quick introduction about me. So my name is Girish Rao. So I am part of Tata Consultancy Services. So I lead the data and analytics engagement for consumer industry. It's been close to 2 decades in the data and analytics space. I worked with Fortune 500 companies for the last 20 years, and happy to be part of this conversation today. And looking forward to share my experience.
Thank you, Girish, for joining.
Thanks, Vijoe.
Yeah, thank you, Grace. My name is Saurabh, and I'm a part of Falabella. I'm leading data and analytics here in Falabella. Uh, I have overall 15 plus years of experience, where all experience are in data space. I have been part of the transformation journey when we were just talking about the kilobytes of data and then the GP and the terabytes of data. So here in Falabella, we are transforming in space of data. So that is a just quick introduction about me.
Thanks, Saurabh, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Cool. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rahul Bharde. I am part of the executive management at Jubilant FoodWorks, and I head analytics. I'm happy to be here along with my esteemed panelists. Back to you, Vijoy.
Thanks again, Rahul. So before we get into the session, I think it's be worth me giving a brief preface why this is an important topic of the hour, right? Let me give a bit of preface on why this topic is the need of the hour, why it's relevant, right? If you think about it, most of the CPG and retail players have struggled to find a solid footing in the turbulent industry. 34 out of world's top consumer goods and retailers have experienced a dip in revenues, profits, or both in the recent years, compelling them to find new ways to compete, stay relevant, and innovate afresh. Retail and consumer product organizations are entering a new phase of innovation with artificial intelligence at its core. The ramifications are profound, offering a host of previously unimaginable capabilities. Let's say an example of rerouting shipments to bypass bad weather, to personalizing in-store services based on analysis being done on the facial expressions. As per latest research, 2 out of 5 retailers and brands have already started leveraging AI, and that's only a start because the number is supposed to be doubling over the next 3 years. Future AI-driven capabilities in this space are going to be more complex and extensive compared to what we have witnessed so far, right? AI raises the transformational and innovational capabilities of CPG manufacturers and retailers to a new level and helps to optimize decision making and automate processes and actions. This includes optimizing internal processes like your logistics, inventory, supply chain to reduce cost, and again at the same time increasing the revenue as a result of addressing market, customer demand more effectively, and thorough optimizing individual customer experience through improved analysis of customers' preference and buying behavior, right? For CPG and retail companies, ensuring product availability at the point of sale is among one of the major goals. For online retailers on the other side, being able to offer fast delivery times becomes so key. But at the same time, for both the players, maintaining the right inventories, safety stock, and related costs attached to supply chain and logistics becomes so key because only when you manage to reduce your overheads, you become more profitable. AI can be leveraged to optimize assortment and inventory planning, warehouse operations, and a more effective routing of goods in the channel based on machine learning techniques, algorithms, and rules. Products can be even automatically allocated in an optimal way and in optimal amounts to various channels and store locations, based again on sales history and demand forecast. AI is still in early stages of adoption among CPG companies and retailers. However, given the huge potential of AI to improve process operations and also the customer experience, the number of use cases in AI in the space of CPG and retail is only going to grow exponentially over the coming years. So the experts in the roundtable will ruminate, debate, and provide the art of possible with AI in CPG and retail industries. So let's quickly jump into the Q&A. Are we ready, leaders?
Yes, Vijoe.
Yes, yes.
Let's go. Let me start with Girish because I think it's a very relevant question for Girish to start with, right? Girish is coming from a service industry. Have you seen the consumers in CPG retail mature? Are they asking for more complex, differentiated products? Have the problems increased in relative complexity over the years? What is your view on this topic, Girish?
Absolutely, Vijoe. So consumers are clear what they want, right? So what we see is this like shelf life of an excitement of a new product has come down. The customer already informed about what they exactly buying for, right? So they decide before they come into the store. They really know most of the time, right? So they know what product they are buying. Thanks to the I would say the social media and the technology, the informations are at fingertip, so they can compare the features of the product and they exactly match what the the need of theirs with respect to the features of the product, and they can map it and finalize what products they want, right? So definitely information in the digital media is playing a lot to make the customer educated about the product. And off late, we are seeing some of the environmental factors, right? The consumers are becoming more and more health conscious. So they want to understand what ingredient which goes into the product before they finalize, right? And also what we see is sustainable mindset coming into the picture. So they want to make sure that the product is produced with a sustainable material, so that the environmental impact, right, can be reduced. And the third bit is about the political orientation, right? The decisions are taken looking at what political or country background that individual product has. The customer wants to take a call based on all these factors before they actually make a buying decision. And I would also say the retail and CPG companies has a little lesser influence compared to in the old world. But I would say AI is playing a lot here, right? So making influencing the influencer, right? So how do we make sure that the right information about the product is given in the social media, and identifying the customer choices, right? And also be transparent in terms of showcasing how exactly the product is produced. And more importantly, AI is leveraged in terms of identifying the coming up with the more sustainable way of producing the product. All these factors are playing a huge role in product creation, as well as getting the product into the market and influencing the consumer buying decisions. Yes, definitely,
Absolutely, Girish.
life has become a little difficult, but I
Yeah,
would say this is a part of an evolution.
because the consumers are also more informed, right, than the previous world, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. Rahul, what's your take on the same topic, Rahul?
Yeah, no, thanks, Vijay. So I think customers, commerce, and the interactions are evolving very, very fast. I think from ordering from same store, for years, now e-commerce offers you millions of products to choose from. Customer wants to order as per convenience. So we've seen a massive growth in quick commerce, because gone are the days when you're planning for your entire month's grocery. You're looking at product, when do you want it, how do you want it. How customers interact with brands, that has evolved massively as well. Social, voice commerce, those are really growing. And with the world of meta, I think we will see significant shift in how consumers interact and order. So exciting times, I think. While all that's happening, really, COVID obviously was unprecedented phenomena. We've seen massive growth in e-commerce. uh, latest time is shown that these trends have also changing very, very fast. The growth we had anticipated for e-commerce is getting stabilized now, and we are still seeing physical commerce coming back. So I think this is an exciting place, and with very, very fast evolving dynamics.
No, absolutely, Rahul. That's an interesting study, right? Whenever there's a calamity like a world war or one or two, we have seen huge innovation, huge spike in innovation. The same thing has happened during the COVID, right? The amount of money that we spend on digitization over the last 3 years, it's unimaginable. And today, all those investments are giving the returns in the form of data. And it's a great time for the professionals in data science to really leverage that data and create value from that data, right? Let me switch gears and ask a question to our Saurabh. Saurabh,
Yeah.
supply chain is probably the bloodline of retail CPG, and you live or die depending on the supply chain efficiencies, right? Can you share some experience of AI and analytics being used to, make an impact on the bottom line?
Yeah, sure. So, Vijay, I'll start with one of the example. Nowadays, we are talking about supply chain, and that is delivering a value where we are having an instant delivery. We are talking about 10 minutes delivery or in a day delivery, same day delivery. All these things are happening because of AI, because of ML engineering. So I would say, and I'll add few more points. So for example, data and analytics and AI are going to play a crucial role in supply chain, and they are playing as well. Many of the retails and CPG companies, they have took an opportunity during COVID, or maybe now they are just going in the direction and they are just using AI and ML to speed up their supply chain, because without this, either they are managing supply chain issues or they want to innovate something in supply chain. Without AI and ML, it is not going to be possible. Nowadays, AI is predicting a range of unexpected events, such as you also told in the introduction, such as weather conditions, whether it is good weather, whether we can deliver during this time or not, whatever we are promising to our consumer or not. That is one of the best example of AI where supply chain industry are focused in that. For example, transport was one of the bottleneck, and AI and ML are helping to clear that bottleneck. There were in the past, we used to have a labor strike. Now, with the help of AI and ML, we are able to predict that as well. And even though we are able or we were able to predict, even it is going far better than that. We, I mean, AI and ML, it is helping to anticipate problem even it comes before. So that is what AI is helping organization to decide what product we have to minimize when they become a less profitable, or understand what consumer needs and will be after the initial orders. AI solutions are also helping to identify exactly which step in supply chain can be improved in order to improve profits, manage career contacts, and even negotiate shipping and procurement rates also. So these are the different examples, and even in our current organizations, we are using AI and ML in all these areas very effectively. So that is my take on that question, Vijay.
No, no, absolutely. Great insights, Saurabh. Rahul, do you want to add your 2 cents on the same topic, please?
Sure. Uh, we at Jubilant FoodWorks, we work with an extremely short shelf life supply chain, and we are distributed across India, more than 350 cities. So it's absolutely critical for me to know exactly how much inventory is needed, because we ship cheese to, for example, cheese to all our restaurants all over India almost on a daily basis. So that is where having a solid forecasting engine comes into play, and that helps me optimize my inventory. Uh, my out of stock situation essentially leads to the loss of opportunity. Anything in excess is going to lead to the wastage part of it, and planning that optimal inventory is a key part of running our operations.
Very clear. So, just to give a background, right? If you think about the space of analytics, few years back, it was pretty much concentrated between BFSI and CPG retail. And in CPG retail, it was always meant to be sales analytics or marketing analytics, right? But the emphasis that we are seeing on bottom line analytics is very encouraging, right? The amount of innovations that we are doing in the space of supply chain, logistics, procurement, finance, right? That's quite interesting. A lot of companies are identifying that it's not just enough to increase the sales, but also very important to keep the cost at control to ensure that they are profitable, right? Let me switch gears here again, and let me ask this question to Girish, right? And it's a very very most debated topic also sometimes, right? How easy is it to convince your CFOs, CSOs, COOs and CXOs on the value creation that you are realizing? Sometimes I feel that when it's bottom line, it's pretty easy because it's black and white. Whereas when it's top line, it's pretty complex because somebody's doing a project in promotions, pricing, marketing, discounts, and it's difficult to know what has contributed to the final uplift in sales. That's the first question. And second, and adding on to that, what is the right thing that we should do to convince our stakeholders to invest on analytics in both the top line and bottom line?
Absolutely, Viju. I think the question what you touched upon in terms of the bottom line and top line, I would say if I just focus on these two KPIs, I think the convincing CFOs or CXO organization has much improved. The reason I would say we see lot value stories about AI as floating around, and everybody wants to kind of like adapt AI in their organization, right? And the pressure on their margins, the market share, revenues has gone up. Definitely they are looking for some of the innovative solutions to adapt. But what makes us very difficult is in terms of one is definitely showcasing those entire hierarchy, right? So let's say if I go back, you touched upon the example. If I'm enabling a marketing manager through AI to improve the so let's say marketing the let's say advertisement or marketing event effectiveness, right? It becomes a little tricky. How do I stitch it back to probably a CMO's KPIs, right, or KRAs of the the CMOs are measure. So how do I connect the dots? So that's where the crux lies. So if you're able to define the entire value stories, or I would say able to link those KPI at the organization level, the CXO's KPIs, so that is where we will be able to convince them in terms of adapting the AI, right? So we have created in this regard what we call it as the entire value mapping. So what we do is like we understand the strategies of every CXOs and try to map it to the entire organization hierarchies, going up to the bottommost level in an organization, what operation that individual do and how those individual KPIs are impacting the strategy. The drawing that entire hierarchy and the tree always helped us to showcase them, okay, which KPI basically AI is actually influencing, right? So that enabling us to convince the CX organization much better way. The complexity happens when we go and influence certain qualitative measurements, right? So, for example, let's say employee satisfaction or let's say satisfaction. So, while we make an attempt to quantify these numbers and try to impact through AI, but it always little tricky because it is there is no direct quantification we can actually attach to it. So that is the area we have been struggling for some time, but I think it's just a matter of like time, as and when the CXOs start looking at their metrics getting improved. So definitely there'll be a more and more AI getting adapted. But to in terms of the exact question, I think the life has become little easy in terms of convincing compared to what we were probably 5 6 years back.
Definitely, I think the maturity also in and maturity in the measurement systems is also helping, right? Because earlier the challenge with the value creation from AI was the fact that nobody believed in those numbers, right? There was
Correct.
no definite science in quantifying value creation from AI, and sometimes the quantification of AI solutions, it's more complex than the actual AI problem
AI
statement
problem
because,
segments.
right, we have to look at a lot of factors to actually identify what exact impact a marketing drive gave,
Yeah.
taking out the noise of everything else that happened in the same space. That becomes even more complex than the actual project that you did in marketing sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Saurabh, if I can ask you the same question, Saurabh, what's your take on the same question? How are you
Great.
finding is are you
Yeah,
finding it easy to convince your leadership, and how are you getting your funding for your initiatives?
that's a great question, Vijay. And I think you both have touched upon the same line. So let me just start with one statement. It is not a buzzword for now, first of all. But nowadays, AI or ML, it is not a buzzword. Every leader or everyone in the industry, believe that AI is their future. They have to use it. So whenever we are going to talk to our leaders, either CFO, CEO, we have to keep in mind, like, we have to think big, we have to start with a small, and we have to scale fast. If we focus on these three direction, I think it is definitely going to not going to just convince, they are going to improve, or they are going to just approve it very, and they are going to get aligned. So, if I tell you, those days are gone when the business were ready to wait for a long year analytics or maybe long implementation. Nowadays, it is a time for self service data tools, or it is a time where customer or the consumer, they want to use their own way the data tools or the AI tools. So if we are not investing right now in AI, then we will be far behind the market. And COVID played an important role in this industry. So since last 2 years, when AI and ML, all the applications and the tools which we have seen, these were maybe planned for 2025 or maybe later, but due to COVID, it is speed up and it came in 2020 and 2021. So, if I summarize, when we talk to our leaders, we have to focus, like, we right now do not need to explain what is an AI. Everyone knows that. But we have to focus on the big journey. We have to have a data driven culture in an organization. We have to focus on big, but we have to have a short term initiatives, or short term, or the small starts. It is not like we will start the 1 year long product or the project. We have to start with small and then slowly improve that. So that is my take on that, Vijay.
No, really great insights from all the leaders here, right? I think let me also add my 2 cents, right? At ABI, today we are working on a model that makes analytics self-funded. So we are going with the McKinsey and Bain model, which basically means that we will upfront invest, and if the value comes, we will take a cut of that value from the P&L, and that funds analytics, and that's making it very easy, because otherwise, every year you have to go for a capex request, the funding request, all of that, right? But today we are, or at least in the mature spaces in analytics, we are going to a space where we are saying the GHQ will fund, provided we take a cut of the value creation that we created, and that's more than enough for us to accelerate our journey in analytics. And that really happens because of the measurement science that we have implemented in that space, right?
Absolutely. Which
Cool.
is just one point here. So what we have seen is like value engineering concepts are getting evolved, and we have witnessed for certain retailers, right? So they have created value engineering as a function, and this function
Exactly.
directly reports to CFO, right? So
Exactly.
now numbers are tracked, numbers are reported, the value addition through AI, and it is open in their system.
No, absolutely, absolutely. We have a VC, value creation team, reporting into the CTO.
Absolutely.
Without the approval of the value creation team, nothing can go into the trackers for value realization. So let me ask the next question to Rahul then. Rahul, considering the buzz about AI and analytics being the core differentiator, how do you think AI and analytics strategy can be mapped for CPG retail companies?
Yeah, so I think the strategy for AI follows the business strategy, knowing where organization want to be in the 3 to 4 years, really, identifying what are the areas which really need that differentiator and really need that financial leverage. That is what becomes an input for defining what should my strategy look like. So, for example, we're working very at Jubilant FoodWorks. We're working heavily on creating omni-channel personalized customer experience, and that is something we believe that is going to be our differentiator, really. So, making sure that we invest in those areas, not just only from a AI standpoint, but also from the technology standpoint, is a critical part of the whole journey per se. Having said that, there are the big buckets remain the same. What problem do you solve within that bucket can change. I think for every retail and CPG company, I think it is going to be key for them to think about how can they use geospatial data and create differentiation about knowing every micro market. Businesses are getting hyper local and hyper personalized. How do we make our marketing money work harder? That problem remains no matter what era it is really. How do you personalize the customer experience, not just how customer orders, but all the interactions. Having solid forecasting engines, short term to long term, right from what do I need today to what is my financial forecast for 3 years really. Having a solid supply chain for your right from planning to routing to fulfillment. I think those are key areas really. Fraud risk remain, I think, increasingly relevant as the channels essentially evolve. I think operation analytics, that's where I think bulk of the magic happens. I think those are really core areas, and the strategy will involve all of these really, along with creating the platforms and the last mile connectivity. What areas you focus on obviously is very very closely tied to creating that differential for the company.
Absolutely. Great insights, Rahul. Girish, do you want to add your 2 cents, considering the fact that you're seeing a gambit of players and you're working
Absolutely.
with a lot of customers, across the globe, right?
So I'll take a step back in this case, right? So we being a technology services company, we look at this AI adaptation holistically. So we have something like a three horizon strategy. So which the entire adaptation of AI divided into probably a three different stages. So start with building a digital core, right? So having this entire technology enablement, right? It may be in terms of the data storage, data harnessing, and then leveraging all the AI tools. So what we call it as a digital core. So the stage one for adoption of AI is always about making sure that you have a proper digital core, which has a capability of scalability, right? So that's where we suggest our customer to start with, and adapting this hyperscaler in today's world, and they made the overall adoption journey much more simpler. The stage two, we call it as a horizontal, so where make the enterprise more intelligent. So that's where the development of the actual AI solution come into the picture. So where we work with the individual department, identifying the business cases, and see how AI solution can enable solving those particular problem, and then move on with operationalizing those AI models, right? Without operationalizing, just having the AI model at probably a line of business level doesn't make sense. Definitely, there is a need to operationalize the model, integrate with the business processes, so that the output of a AI model can be consumed directly for a business processes. So that's the second level of strategy. The third thing is about leveraging an ecosystem. Most of the time, we just organization or enterprise just get stuck with the whatever the intelligence they have within the organization. But I think we have moved out into the era of leveraging the ecosystem intelligence, right? So, for example, let's say how does a retailer can give entire intelligence about the sales and the consumer to a CPG company, so who can then fine tune their products and then plan the entire manufacturing or a production, right? So we were in the era where this information used to pass it through a third party company, and then CPG company leverage to improve their process. But we are trying to bring those two industry together through what we call it as a horizon 3 strategy, and build that ecosystem so where the intelligence can be shared across, and end of the day, right? So both retailers as well as CPG companies succeed in their journey. So this is the overall strategy we adapt when we go to customer, and it's in fact it is kind of like working really well for us to convince them to adapt the AI in this journey, in this entire space. So,
Absolutely. Great insights. Switching gears here, let me ask a question very relevant to Saurabh. And it's a very common topic that we always debate, right? What is the preferred structure for an AI analytics organization, especially in CPG retail? Is it centralized? Is it federated? Whether it's hybrid? And what are the key factors behind your reasoning? Are you witnessing any trends? Because for analytics to win, domain understanding is important. The ability to implement and create value is important. At the same time, keeping it separate as a different entity with special needs is important, right? So, what is your take on this, Saurabh? What are you seeing in your organization, and what's the trends that you are witnessing?
Yeah. So, Vijay, I was smiling when you were asking this question because this is one of my favorite one. And since last 1 year, I was searching, I was doing all the R&D about this because this is the one which we are implementing right now in our organizations. And everyone is talking about it, what to centralize, what to decentralize. So, in my opinion, first of all, we have to forget that everything can be centralized or everything can be decentralized. We have to have some hybrid approach. And why I am saying that? Because each has their own advantage and disadvantage. So, for example, let me add from the centralized perspective. Earlier, when we were not having self-service tools, then centralized team, the centralized data engineering team, and all, they were the one who were ingesting the data into their data lakes, and then there were the data science team who were doing some modeling part, and they were the one who were providing an insight. But right now, business analysts, they don't want that, or the AI tools, they don't want any centralized team, because that is again going to be a bottleneck. And when we are living in a data world, when we whatever we do, it is getting captured somewhere and it is getting analyzed and it is getting insight somewhere. So we don't want any bottleneck. But centralized has its own advantage also. For example, if you have a centralized structure, then you might have an efficiency based on scales. You can reduce your infrastructure cost. Even you can create appropriate career path for your data talent also, because if you have a data centralized team, you have a very clear roadmap for their career path, and data governance become very easy. So that's the advantage. The same way, if we have a decentralized model, uh, we can be more agile. For example, the product team, who are the generator of the data, who are the source of the data, they can own their own data, they can play with their own data. They do not need to wait for the centralized team. So, in my opinion, I would say we have to have the best of both worlds. Like, I would say federated data management strategy is an answer to that, where some functions should be centralized and others should be decentralized. Just with one example, I'll end up my answer. So, data governance should be centralized. However, model building, deployment part should be decentralized, and it has to be with the product team. For example, data ingestion tool or the data platform tools, those have to be centralized so that we have a common practice and standards. But using of those tools have to be decentralized. That is my take on that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Rahul, can you also shed some light on the same topic, Rahul? I'm sure that you also have great experience
Yeah, no,
working with
sure.
models.
No, sure. I think no. I think the structures are evolving, and I feel that there is still a way to go before we'll sort of come up with a industry accepted standard view. What I've essentially seen, there are really two three factors to consider. First one is agility of response, how fast you can move, because in most cases the number of asks from a AI or analytics teams will always outweigh the availability. Secondly, essentially, is the capability that how can you really get people who can create differentiated capabilities and not just sort of ad hoc solutions. Second important factor is hiring and career path. I'm sure all of you have open roles and all the time, and we sort of struggle to find great talent. Having said that, I think I feel the hybrid approach is where a lot of organizations are moving towards. It also depends on the maturity of the organization. The challenge with this is no right answer. The challenge with having federated model is that sometimes there is no enterprise view. You will get duplication of the work, and you may not necessarily solve build the best possible solution. With centralized analytics, obviously the challenge remains in how quickly you can scale up and respond. So I think hybrid models sort of work best in my mind, and wherever it is, it goes to the core of the analytics, be it data engineering, be it essentially data science, be it deeper analysis, or be it creating data or reporting platforms. Those I feel are definitely we can get a lot of it by centralizing really. As we move closer towards applying the analytics, be it using dashboards for decision making, or be it using campaign tools for planning the campaign, running the campaign really, this is where having a few experts who are good at basic data usage and using the data led tools can actually bring the both best of both the worlds to we can move fast also, and we can sort of also have a consolidated approach in really going deeper into the building capabilities.
Absolutely, great insights. Let me move to the next question then for Girish, right? So last 2 3 years we have seen a huge shift in everything, right? Customer shopping patterns, the way they want their personalized solutions, the way they want it delivered, everything is changing, right? Let me give an example from my world. A demand forecasting model that was working with 99% efficiency accuracy in 2019, the same model gives 60% accuracy today, because, or the sales forecast for the same matter, right? It doesn't work, right? The world has completely changed over the last 3 years, and without we looking at magnitude of external factors, we are not able to even make a prediction on what's relevant today. So, Girish, in your solutions, how are you leveraging third-party data to ensure that your solutions are getting more comprehensive and more useful for the customers?
Sure, sure. So in terms of leveraging the third party data, right? So I think I need to segregate the business group here. So retail has been, let's say if I take a CPG company, so they have been always dependent on the third party data itself, right? Because end of the day, they will not get the direct information about the transaction, and they are dependent on the retailer to even execute the basic analytics, maybe a revenue management or the production. So I think that has been continuing. But what I see the trend here is in terms of adoption, these data, or I would say the time scale has reducing. Right, the people are trying to get an way to get these data on a much more near real time from a retailer, so that the analytics can be implemented and inferences can be derived much more faster. So that's continuing in the CPG organization. But the common problem for CPG as well as the retailer lies, I think that's remains same, right? Going out of the enterprise system and fetching the data for it mostly from improving the accuracy of an AI model. I think you just touched upon a excellent point. How do I improve 76% or 70 odd percent accuracy to a 99%, right? So for example, let's say weather. So we are witnessing the weather pattern is also changing, right? So now how do I link the weather data into my model and make sure that my model continuously monitor for this weather related data and start readjusting some of the parameters so that the accuracy remains same, right? The second thing could be is about the customer feedback. It is the social media is becoming more and more prominent. People are trying to express their views in the social media to capture the customer views about either in terms of my product or a service. So it's very important that the consumer companies keep an ear on the social media and keep listening to them what exactly customers are actually speaking about their product or services. So that can be a second one. The third thing is about can be about the traffic, right? So let's say when we talk about logistic, when e-commerce is picking up so rapidly, the last mile delivery, the fulfillment rate is entirely depends upon how I get the information related to traffic. Right, the Google made our life much more easier, integrating their APIs or Google Map into my the overall. So let's say service operations. But yes, the data needs to be still fetched, injected into my AI model to give that accurate prediction of the delivery time and eventually meeting the fulfillment adherence, right? And moving in terms of let's say competitor information, right? So how do I still look for a competitor, what exactly they are doing? It may be in terms of their pricing, it may be about their various strategy, or even in terms of where exactly they're building a store, right? This information also becomes very key for the entire strategy for a consumer company, right? And the last but not least, I think the list goes on, the government related information, right? The compliance rules are keep changing on daily basis. How do I still keep an eye on the various compliance rules which our government is trying to give it, and most importantly taking the data and analyzing my entire scheme of operation and coming back and say, okay, this scheme of operation is getting impacted because of this specific policies or compliance rules which government is coming up with. So we cannot dependent on a human intervention here. It has to be happen as much as possible through machines. So I see the dependency on the third party has definitely gone up, and definitely we need to keep a provision when we develop a model to make sure that we take this third party data and incorporate it in our model. Yeah.
Definitely. Now, if you think about it, the number of players in that space also increased substantially, right? Earlier, the only ones that at least I knew were like Nielsen and IRI,
Yeah.
right? They used to give data and maybe IHS. But if you fast forward to 2022, we are seeing so many niche players focusing on each domain. For example, in the alcohol beverage business, we have data providers which is only focusing on that domain and they're doing great business in that space, right? So it's interesting to see.
Absolutely.
Saurabh, you want to add some light again onto the same topic, Saurabh?
Yeah, just I think you both have covered the points, but I do agree. And let me just add one quick point here. So, third party data sets are like a stitches together our internal data and other third party data, and how retailers are getting benefits. So retailers are using that third party data either to forecast or to maintain our supply chain, as well as we use geolocation data to better prediction demand and to better forecast and to see stock outs. Even some retailers are using satellite images to estimate the traffic, and they predict the retail sales. So third party data sources help really businesses to personalize marketing offer as well, because in our industry we are using that third party data either from the network social networking side or maybe from some other side, though we can scrape the data by ourselves, but the time is the key here. So the third party who is providing the data and then they are ready to give the insight immediately, that is the one which really help us to personalize our marketing offer, improve our decisions, and even to gain a new revenue stream as well. So that is my take on that.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's go to the last question of the roundtable, and let me focus on Rahul for this question. Rahul, how does customer experience combined with AI is unraveling new decision-making insights for retailers and CPG players? Can you give some examples from your world?
No, absolutely. I think again, I think a highly researched and highly area of focus for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, the how customers are interacting with brands is changing. So a lot of investment in voice commerce, for example, right? Lot of investment in providing an omni-channel experience. So those are at the pretty much now a table stakes, and everybody expects retailer to actually have it. Personalization is a big area. How do you really make it easy and personalized for customers to order? And all the e-commerce companies are great examples of how it can be personalized. Tesco in UK, for example, has something called as My Usuals. They actually populate your basket even before you sort of log in. I think it also significantly extends into the post-order experience. So right from large language models are making voice bot and interactions lot easier than standard question responses, for example. Or even the computer vision is sort of making it easy today on Big Basket. If you sort of upload a photo, you don't have to call anything really. It gets taken care of. Consumers are obviously expecting best experience wherever they find the best experience in one industry. They apply same standards to everyone really, and that is what is sort of fueling a lot of the innovations. As we sort of move forward, this is going to get disrupted even more. Augmented reality, for example, is changing how people order fashions, and as the world gets more digital, I think, and with the introduction of Meta, I think it is really going to make a huge difference in terms of how customers interact, and the entire experience is going to be very, very different. And a lot of AI sort of innovations are helping drive that change in the frontier.
No, absolutely. Saurabh, if I can ask the same question to you, what will be your take, Saurabh?
Yeah, great. So, in my opinion, and you guys also will be ready. So, customer experience nowadays is the new battlefield. Everyone wants to play in that battlefield, and they really want to win. So the thing is, Rahul was mentioning, augmented reality and visuals, computer visions, and all these things are coming into picture with the help of AI and ML because of customer experience. So uh, here, basically, and one of the survey I was reading, so 80% of customers says they are more likely to buy from the brands that deliver the best customer experience. So that is a key, and AI provides the technology and advanced insight to help create that reality for those users. And all these technology which we are using in data space right now, these are the one nowadays in today's digital world. It is impossible to ignore AI or the technology which we have right now, because it has a huge impact on our consumer. And when we talk about AI or the consumer, they both goes hand in hand. So we cannot, and customer experience is one of the key or crucial area where everyone is investing a lot and they are trying to make their customer happy. So that is my take on that, Vijay.
Definitely. Finally, Girish, any take on the same topic, Girish?
Yeah, I think Saurabh and Rahul touched upon the personalization more deeply, but I thought of just bringing some of the my perspective in this space. The personalization continued to be a battle, right? Because the facet or the interaction which customer is having with consumer companies are evolving day by day. So an individual might have go back and let's say shop in the brick and mortar stores. The same can be shopped through a mobile, right? A mobile also what we see is the different devices they use. So the challenge in terms of capturing the customer identity through different channels and making sure that we still leverage those personalization engine to identify that individual and give that personalized recommendation, right? So that the challenge is getting complicated. I mean, I would say the overall process is getting complicated as the day goes. And also the other part is we live in the instant gratification world, right? Because basically these consumer companies are dealing with three set of generations. So it may be a Gen Z, millennials, now the alpha generations are coming into the picture. And the way they buy, the way they make a decision is kind of like changing, right? So now that element also getting added into complexity of personalization. When I talked about instant gratification, the time factor also come into the picture. So now it's all about recommending a product at that point, right? Maybe after 1 hour, the need of an individual might completely change, and my recommendation engine may not even work, right? So now adding a time element into my personalization is a key for the success here. And again, I don't have to say we are talking about tons of data here. So only AI can make a churn this data and make a decision. And the last point about this entire customer expectation experiences. So we are living in the super app world, right? And I think the recent study that state that the super app is going to be the next biggest thing which are going to come. And imagine a single customer is getting measured in a different type of business, right? It may be a grocery retailer, or it may be the same customer is come under a super app, let's say, which deals with grocery, which deals with the specialty, deals with certain services, right? It may be or a restaurant, it may be a travel. So now getting the same experience, all the different application to a business, and making still sure that you understand the customer and give them the best, right? The personalization is getting evolved, the entire engine is getting evolved, and we are getting into more complex world in the coming days.
No, absolutely. So, no, great points from all of you from for all the questions. I think, let me wrap it up by saying that sometimes we feel that we all, right, having worked in the space for like 10, 15, 18 years, sometimes we tend to believe that, we reach a point where, it's the use case are plateauing. But the fact is that we are barely scratched the surface, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, year on year, the cost of maintaining data is getting cheaper. The cost of processing data is getting cheaper. More and more complex and powerful algorithms are coming into the market, which means that it's only a start of a new journey, right? And it's very exciting to see the amount of value creation that's possible with AI in the space of retail and CPG, right? So thanks all the leaders for joining. All the listeners, hoping you had a great session and you're all able to learn something new from our discussions. Thanks a lot, leaders. Thank you. Thanks once again.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Vijay. thank you 3AI for this platform. I think this is a great roundtable discussions. We so many new things and new thoughts. So it's really a wonderful one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.